For the past year, SwitchBot's wide range of home automation products have been integrated into my daily life to improve my quality of living. From automating my curtains that were really hard to reach so that I can wake up naturally to daylight, to scheduling a very noisy dehumidifier underneath my bedroom so that it only runs during the day, all the way to turning on my porch lights at night so that I can easily find my keys, and it can also add that extra home security. So after all this, it's no doubt that SwitchBot's easy to install home automation solutions have been integral to my daily life. Recently, SwitchBot has introduced 2 new products that add more capabilities to its ecosystem of home automation products, which are the new SwitchBot motion sensor and contact sensor. In this video, I'll show you how these new hardware sensors can add extra convenience to your life, but most importantly, add home security. Let's get right into it.
So I've been using the SwitchBot to turn this light on and off on a schedule, and that has been working really great. I really like that I'm able to come here at night and have a light on that automatically turns on, and then during the day it obviously turns off based on that schedule. Now the only issue with the schedule is that we are in a constantly changing environment in Canada where the sunset and sunrise come at different times. So in the wintertime, the sun sets around 6 p.m. and right now in the summertime, the sun sets around 9 p.m. So you can see that it is a little bit difficult to set a schedule based on that. So the nice thing with this really simple add-on here, this motion sensor, is that you can actually have this work in the conditions that you want. So for example, when it's nighttime and it has detected a motion, let's say you walked up closer to this kind of deck area, it will turn on the light. And then after, let's say 10 minutes of no motion and it's dim outside still, it will turn off the light. So the SwitchBot motion detector and light sensor not only makes it a lot more efficient to turn on and turn off your lights, it also adds a layer of security to your entire home. So for example, let's say someone is coming onto your deck and you're sleeping, this will obviously trigger the light, and this is probably going to act as a really good deterrent for any burglars or anyone that isn't supposed to come to your house. So not only is this going to make your life a lot easier to use when you don't have to fumble through your keys in the darkness, it's going to add a lot more security to your home, and that itself is definitely worth the cost. Now the coolest part about the SwitchBot is that it has a magnetic backside, so it makes it really easy just to stick this on. You don't have to use any tools or anything like that. It's just really easy. All you got to do is plop it on right here, and you're pretty much set up and ready to go. So no drilling, no fuss. And of course, if you don't have any metal or iron surfaces to stick this on, you can use the included adhesive to just put it on the back cover or on the actual bot itself and just stick it onto anywhere you go. Just hold it down for 60 seconds, make sure the surface is clean with some alcohol, and you're good to go. So no tools are never needed to install this really cool, nifty motion sensor. So there's an LED light on this SwitchBot motion and light sensor, and this is going to help you kind of debug any issues. What's really nice about this is that you can enable it on the settings. It's off by default to save battery. However, you can of course enable it. Once it's enabled, anytime it detects some motion, you can see that it lights up. So you can see a little flash over there and you know it's working as expected. Here you can see you can angle it in many different ways. And of course you can move it up and down based on the situation that you're in. So for example, let's say you have a lot of animals, let's say you have a dog or a cat. You don't want this to be triggered. So you're gonna wanna move this a little bit higher so that it doesn't detect anything below it. And now obviously you can go into the software settings and change the kind of sensitivity. So you can have a long distance, medium distance, and a short distance. So it does give you a lot of options in how you want to configure this if you want to get the best results. Now also in the settings menu, you may need to calibrate the ambient light. So right now it's really bright, so it's obviously going to be detecting the kind of brightness situation you are. And then when it becomes dim, let's say at night, you can calibrate it then. So over here, you can see that I've installed a motion detector, and this is the standard one that you buy maybe from Home Depot. Now these solutions are a lot more expensive, and not only are they more expensive, they're also harder to install because they require drilling and then wiring up to your electricity system. So all that is just way too much work for me. I'd much rather have a simple plug and play solution. Also, another downside using such a standard type of motion sensor is that there's no IoT integration. All it does is just light up. It doesn't really do anything. It doesn't integrate with your kind of web services and whatnot. So this type of solution is very limited and doesn't give you a lot of practicality, let's say notifications, and also setting different types of schedules and alerts.
Speaking of installation, the whole setup to get my SwitchBot motion sensor working took me only a few minutes. First thing you'll need to do is add batteries. The motion detector runs on 2 AAA batteries, which were included. As for mounting this motion sensor, you have many different options. Obviously, you can use the magnetic or adhesive back cover, and you have lots of different angles to play with. So this will definitely fit in many different scenarios. For the next part, you'll use the smartphone app to pair it with your phone. Just long press the reset button and you'll be immediately paired. It was really easy. Once paired, you can configure several different options But for the case of simplicity, I didn't have to do anything special. I left everything on default, and I did not even have to calibrate the ambient light in my scenario. But the first thing you'll need to do is that you'll probably want to set up a scene. A scene lets you define conditions for a specific action to take place. In my case, I want the SwitchBot motion detector to trigger my entrance lights to turn on whenever it detects motion only at night. So what I did is define some conditions, as you can see here, and then I'll set the action accordingly. Next, I want to set up another scene, and this time it will trigger the light to turn off if there's no motion detected for up to 15 minutes. Again, this only happens when it's dark outside. The whole setup process was very intuitive, and I was up and running in a matter of minutes. Now, as for the day-to-day function, I was very impressed with how accurate the motion detection was. I never had any misfires like my dog triggering the motion sensor, or let's say a fly like a bug outside triggering it. I love that the motion sensor only works at night so as to add that extra home security and also save electricity and the lifespan of my light bulb. I never have to fumble for my keys at night when it's pitch black outside. It just automatically turns on as soon as I get to the porch. Now, in order to get the full security benefits, it's highly recommended to pair your SwitchBot motion sensors with the SwitchBot Hub. This allows you to receive notifications when you are not at home. You can even have your voice assistant alert you if someone is entering your house. Now, for those who need an audit or just like data in general, you can even drill into the app and you can get things like a detailed audit log of all the events that have happened. These motion sensors work with pretty much all of SwitchBot's current offerings of products, such as the curtain automator and of course their new security camera. So let's switch gears and let's talk about SwitchBot's new contact sensor. This tiny little device is very impressive as it packs a bunch of sensors in such a small form factor to detect things like body motion, contact from a door or window, and ambient light. It has the same LED light indicator as the motion sensor, which can be disabled in the app. It runs on the same 2 AAA batteries, and I love that SwitchBot continues to employ magnets to make the installation process as easy as possible. We'll talk about that a little bit later in this video.
So getting this set up is really easy. All you gotta do is pair it with Bluetooth. So let's long press this. Okay, so it's blinking rapidly. So let's go to the next step. And then we can just name it front. We're gonna attach this to the hub. So that's where the hub is, and that is a wonderful device. It puts all your SwitchBots on the cloud so you can control it with the Google Assistant, and of course do it remotely without using Bluetooth, because it is the one that contacts all the devices with Bluetooth and is connected with Wi-Fi to the internet. And this can also act as an infrared blaster, and the device can easily copy all the IR commands of your remote controls for your specific devices so that you can control things like your fireplace, your TV, your AC.
Well, turn on the fireplace. All right, turning fireplace on.
So continue with the installation, you have the option of using door, window, and something else, let's say a cupboard. In this case, we'll be using the door. So in this case, you need to mount it 5 feet from the floor surface, and they're advising you to use a light touch on the kind of adhesive backing so that you can adjust it as needed. Now the contact sensor is the smaller magnetic bit that is also aligned with the door. And you don't want it to be more than 1.2 inches or 30 millimeters away from the contact sensor. So right now we're going to test the installation on a tentative spot. One thing that's also important is to always upgrade the firmware. So let's do that right now. So what's really nice in my situation is that this is a magnetic friendly surface. This of course is a magnet, so it can just plop on right here. And I don't have to worry about using any kind of adhesive tape. It's just really easy to put in there. So I can adjust it as I want. So right now I'm just gonna keep it here just about 5 feet above the surface. I'll be using this motion light detector, of course, to place it over here with the adhesive. So we want it to be about 5 feet above the surface. So just about here. So you just want to line the bottom part with this part over here. Okay, and that's it. We're pretty much set up to go. So I'm going to open the door, and then we're going to notice that there's a little light that indicates something has happened. So right now we've opened the door, and now we just close it. And of course the light goes on. So really easy to set up. That literally takes less than 10 seconds. And we pretty much have added security to our home. So right now the indicator is showing that it's closed, which is working according to spec. Now we just open it, and it shows that it's opened, Now we're gonna close it. And we show it's closed. So yeah, it's working flawlessly right out of the box. Nothing I had to configure. Now, of course, they include screws, but in this case, we didn't have to use it. Of course, I much prefer to not have to drill anything. It's less invasive, and it's obviously a lot easier to install with just the adhesive. Now, the motion sensor has a wide range of features. For example, you can go into the notifications and you can see that you can get so many different types of notifications. So for example, when you open the door, close it, leave it open for some time, or there's motion detected. So right now we're going to be notified of all these. There's of course the indicator light, which shows whenever the motion is detected. A really cool nifty feature is that you can be notified when the door has been left open. So right now I've had to set it to 5 minutes, but you can make this to, let's say, a smaller value. So for example, if you open the door and you leave it open for 3 minutes, SwitchBot does know that you have left the door open, which can be very helpful for different types of conditions and scenes. Another cool nifty feature is the exit feature. So basically what it is when you're leaving the house, let's say you're exiting whatever the door, you can press this physical button and then exit, and then it'll know that you've left the house within, let's say you exit within 15 seconds. Now there is a beta feature that is coming out that will detect the motion up to 9.8 feet. And when it's detected that motion and you've opened the door and you've left, it also will detect that you've exited. So that isn't currently in beta, but right now you can just use the button to know when you're exiting. So this gives the SwitchBot ecosystem more data to understand what is happening based on different circumstances. There is of course a light sensor, which is also very nifty when it comes to different situations that you want to set up in your scenes. So here you want to enable cloud service so that you can obviously have this connected and interact with all the other devices over the internet. Here right now you can see that it's in a left open state and it gives you the time over here. So this is a really nice indicator to give you the current situation of what the SwitchBot front door sensor is doing. And of course, as usual, you can set up automation so you can do different types of scenes. For example, in this situation, we want the front door sensor to say, okay, if I make any kind of contact, let's say I'm exiting, entering, opening, closing, or I left it open, it can trigger a specific type of action. And of course, you get the brightness sensor and the motion detection. So it can detect the motion, for, let's say, a certain period of time. So nothing has been in the sensor for, let's say, 2 minutes, then that means that there has been no motion for 2 minutes. So this is all part of the conditions. And then from there, you're of course going to set an action. So that can be, let's say, for example, turning on a light or sending a notification. Now I can see the motion sensor working for any type of window or door. In this specific case, you may need to mount the motion sensor on the other side because there isn't really that much difference happening here. So you'll have to use it outside in this case. So this type of window makes it really easy to install the motion sensor. You could put the magnetic tip over here and then install the motion sensor on this side so that when you open it, in this way, it can easily detect motion. It's very easy.
So after several weeks of using these motion sensors throughout my house, I have to say I'm very happy with the results. Being able to just save energy by having all my lights and appliances like my TV automatically turn off when I've left my home, or having motion and contact sensors act as deterrents to unwanted guests by turning on lights when motion is detected, SwitchBot continues to innovate and provide value through its easy to install home automation solutions. Now that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments about these SwitchBot products, please let me know. I'd be very happy to answer, and I will see you in the next video.